All right, so on this episode of Lifted, I wanted to bring in somebody that's like super inspirational in the community, and he's out there hustling, and I would like to call it diverse income. And because of these individuals, it motivates myself, and if it motivates me, I'm sure it can motivate others. So I had the opportunity to bring in Dante Patterson, who's with us today, to kind of speak about different goals, his history. How did he be able to come to that stand where he's able to diversify his funds as far as bringing in different type of income? And then I also have Evelyn Pierce who's with me today. So I want to thank you guys for being on the show. I appreciate it, right? So being a part of this show, Dante, we did select you and we were excited to have you.
Very excited.
Thank you for coming on. So just to kind of get into that, where are you from? Who are you? Talk to us.
I grew up in Dorchester. 28 years old, father of 2 daughters. I grew up in a tough neighborhood, but that neighborhood helped make me who I am today. So I'm proud of that, and I'll never forget it.
I know you had mentioned that you've done your schooling in different parts.
Yeah.
So give me an example of like your schooling background.
Okay, so I lived in the suburbs in the South Shore, in a town called Holbrook, until I was about 11 or 12 years old. We lived on Section 8 when I stayed out there. We were in the projects. And I learned a lot about school and the value of school being in that small town. Between that and sports, it was my way of, socially fitting in with the kids in the town. A lot of them come from, good backgrounds. So my way of fitting in was to either be better at school than them or be better at sports. So I tried to do both.
So you found your niche, right?
Yeah.
So as you're going through these different systems, what was the niche and what did you fall in love with and kind of help you out?
So the niche for me was I wanted to be. I always knew I wanted to be something great. My mother was a single mom, and I just knew I had to be something. It started off being something for her because she worked so hard to try to put a roof over, me and my brothers and sisters' heads. And
So what was that? What were you doing in sport? Like what were you doing in school to kind of get you?
In school, it was just I was very competitive.
Okay.
It was like if there was a kid in my class that everybody loved and they were like, oh, he's the guy, and I wanted to be better than him. I wanted to outdo him. If he had 88 on his test, I was trying to do 90.
So where did the competitive nature really spawn from? Where would you say that began? Or what was the seed that made that grow?
I think the seed that made that grow is my neighborhood was full of a lot of kids where we were all, from poverty situations, single moms, and we did a lot of stuff in our neighborhood. So we were competitive, whether it was, playing basketball or trying to race. We would do street races. Who was faster than who? Coming up, we just had a competitive edge about us, and I knew once I had that, I had to use it in a way to just better my life and my situation. At a young age, I understood that immediately.
I know sports was big for you.
Yeah.
I know you love sports. Talk to me about your love for sports and how it kept you away from negativity.
The first sport I ever fell in love with was baseball. Being in the suburbs, everyone played baseball. It was like the biggest
Red
thing.
Sox fan, right? You love the Red Sox.
I love the Red Sox. I go to a lot of games. Shout out to my friends that play on the team. I appreciate them. I get to see a lot of games because of them. But at a young age, I loved baseball. It was just the feel of the grass, the feel of throwing the baseball, the leather on the laces on the ball. But it was like my getaway. Sports was my getaway from my actual reality of growing up without a father in my household.
And then your next sport, what was the next sport?
Next sport was basketball.
Basketball?
Yeah, I had a basketball hoop in my neighborhood right in our projects, and I would go every day after school and shoot hoops.
Yeah.
Every day.
But that's not what a lot of people know you for something else, man. I think you're being modest right now. He's being modest. This is something he's really good at. That's opened some doors and really supported him. What was that?
So I ended up falling in love with football. Football for me, the reason I fell in love with it, it was a way to let out my aggression, all the pain that I had to deal with, and I just, moved forward with football. Football opened a lot of doors for me. It kept me out of trouble in my neighborhood, kept me focused, showed me discipline, and it got me into college eventually.
So I know for football, it's a good support system. It helps you stay away from certain things. What's your recommendation to other students that like really love the game as well? And what else should they think about other than just the game itself as well?
So for anyone that's in love with the game of football, or just any sport in general, I would say to just work really really hard at what it is that you're focused on and trying to do, but also don't lose the part of being a student. Education is key, and one of the biggest things that I regret is I didn't take my teachers seriously. I took them for granted, and a lot of them cared about me, and I just didn't see it because at that point I probably didn't value myself as much as I should have. You got to understand the value of yourself, and in order to value yourself, you got to have that confidence. But sports is a tool. It's not your destination. If you end up becoming a pro or whatever the case may be, and it makes money for your family, that's cool. But the key is using your mind to become a better person and to really tap into your inner self, because there's things in this world you may not even realize are there for you until you get to that point. And you don't want it to be too late because you didn't focus early on, in your education.
Dante, I really think it's amazing that you can tie your past into what you're doing now, and that's a perfect segue into the present. And I think that one of the things that we want to do for our viewers is to provide the foundations and the tools, but really to really look at someone's story as a whole and understand what laid the foundation into who they are today.
Right.
So with that, what are some of the different ways you hustle, and what are some of the different projects you're working on right now, and where are you today?
So a couple of things that I do. Marketing is my background. I'm very huge into marketing. So right now I work at Saks Fifth Avenue. For those that don't know, Saks Fifth Avenue is a luxury clothing brand or department store, I should say, where you can get anything from Gucci to YSL, all the things that you see your famous people wearing that people go crazy.
Or some of those people that you
that I work with
give us
over
a
there.
name or two. Yeah, I've seen you doing some things over there.
So
by the way, he could dress pretty well himself. I just want to throw it in
Pretty
there.
dapper.
Extremely dapper. I see this guy with trenches and all types of like fly trenches and pea coats and all types of jackets and sports blazers. But you have the responsibility to support other celebs.
Some people that I've helped out, a lot of Taraji, Henson, who's known to most of you guys as Cookie from Empire.
Empire. We all
Cookie.
She's awesome.
Actually, she's very humble. Very humble woman. She's cool. I've helped out a lot of athletes, football players from the Patriots, basketball players from the Celtics. I just recently met Jason Tatum. He's a very humble kid. His mom's nice.
Shout out to him.
Yeah, he's good people. He's very good to his mom. Who else? A couple of baseball players that I've helped out.
So talk about, what else? Bijou? We're going to talk about Bijou. This guy is, so now you know
Jack of all trades.
Exactly, right? Diverse income. So he's over here grinding it out.
So that's just one of the many hats that you wear.
One.
What's another one? What is one that you're very passionate about that our viewers would like to know?
The thing that I'm passionate about right now for me is Bijou. I work at a nightclub called Bijou in downtown Boston. Some of you may know where it's at, some of you may not, but do your research. It's one of the most elite clubs in the city of Boston, in the state of Massachusetts, and even in the country. We do a lot of bookings for major artists, A, B, C-list celebrities, and for me, I'm very thankful for the owners over there and the management for believing in me, for being able to be an ambassador and run the front of their doors.
Because at one point it wasn't always like that, right? You've been hustling different spaces, but as you try to enter that space, it wasn't as easy. So what are some of the challenges you had?
Some of the other challenges I've had, and I'm gonna be real with y'all. In a world full of social media where a lot of us get caught up in like, oh, this picture shows this and the life is this. I'm that one person. I have a lot of pride, as well, but I'll also let you know where I come from. So before I worked at Bijou, I worked at the W Hotel for a little bit. I was one of the front doormen that would bring the bags upstairs for the guests that were staying in and see.
Around all the celebrities, huh?
Yeah, I was meeting everybody. I met Ludacris. I met, Chief Keef. I met Travis Scott in the weekend. I met J. Cole. But the thing that I learned is all those people are normal. You can't get caught up in the hype of their careers and all this stuff. So one of the most humble people I met was J. Cole. Actually, J. Cole held the elevator for me as I was bringing like 20 bags onto the elevator, and he treated me like a regular person. That's one humble person right there. So is Chief Keef. He's very humble, laid back. But
So how'd you get in? How'd you create this niche in Bijou? Because obviously you're the man around town. If you guys want to go out, you absolutely hit up Dante. He'll make sure you have a good time. But how did you get in there?
So at the W, the owners and the management of Bijou would come there a lot. Vibe Out was their pregame spot, and we would always park their cars, in the front and take care of them. But those guys are very humble, so I created, a relationship with them that to this day I value a lot. And I ended up getting, fired from the W. We get fired, we lose jobs, we get laid off. And I was stuck in a spot, but I didn't know what it was I was going to do. I even did Toys R Us overnights during Christmas just to make sure my daughters had Christmas gifts. So that was it. Like, I worked there just to get Christmas gifts for my daughters for like 2 months. Right after that, I even met with, E, tried to help me out. He helped me with my resume to get me on point, offered me jobs, but I eventually got, my man Aleko, who's, the head hip hop curator for Bijou, and he's just been in the game for 20 years, was like, hey, we need a front doorman for Saturdays. And he brought me on board, you know what I mean? And when he brought me on board, it wasn't about just being there. Whenever I've done something, I've always wanted to be the best at it. So I was just like, I'm going to do my best to be that guy. You know what I'm saying? Every day I come in here, every Saturday I'm in here, I'm going to be that person that makes sure anyone who steps in this building is going to have a great experience.
I do want to kind of tie it back to your marketing background, because Bijou has become a success in the past couple of years. How are you able to apply what you've learned with your marketing background into making or helping Bijou's continued success in where it is today?
So for me, I studied marketing in college. I was at Curry College for like a year and a half. I went to California for a little bit with football and marketing. And then I was at Boston College. It's at Boston College where I realized, marketing is something that's around us every day. And for me, it spoke to me right away and what I wanted to do. I first started off doing a little bit of management with my brother, who was a rap artist, and it taught me how to do emails.
What's your brother's name?
Flyboy Dizzy.
Okay.
You can follow him on Instagram at Flyboy Dizzy.
Got to.
Gotta make sure that's in there.
That's my guy. He's my best friend, man. We learned a lot together. And to be honest with y'all, I didn't have a social media until he told me to get one. He was like, you need this. This is going to help move everything. So once I got on the social media aspect, that helped me with the marketing. I've done anything from business emails to big execs to blogs and all that with his music career. And then from there, the transitioning into Bijou was kind of easy, because at that point it was like the image you want to create for people to understand that, I want to go here, this is why I want to party. And we look at stuff that when we're traveling, like, hey, this place, I want to go here because of why? Because it gave me a feeling that when I seen, the visual, the people that go there, they enjoy themselves. So with me, with my marketing, I use my social media platform for a good time. A lot of the celebs I meet, I take pictures with the people I actually have conversations with. That's like one of my number one rules.
Yeah.
I don't take pictures with just any artist or somebody that comes there. I actually have to have a conversation with them or make a connection, because I don't want it to be fake. I want mine to be authentic. I want you guys to know that, okay, when he shook this person's hand or when they talked to him, they had a real conversation. He really made that vibe. It wasn't, oh, I'm just taking this picture and throwing it up, because that they even look at that. In this industry, as you move up or whatever the case may be, they see that. They may not respond because they got 100 million followers, whatever it is, but they see like, okay, you're a fraud. You just took this flip with me because I thought you was a fan. You know what I mean? So I never want that. I'm not a fan.
The interesting thing, and just kind of like, understanding our conversation thus far, we've identified that you're very successful in building relationships, and that is a curated skill, and you've built that skill. Whether it was from the W or today at Bijou, what recommendations or tips can you give people out there that want to work on building relationships so they can either make their businesses more profitable, being better at networking? What tips can you offer for people to be better at, approaching someone else, or just having a genuine conversation, to your point?
So the biggest thing that you could do is networking's everything. When it comes to approaching people and meeting new people, you just gotta be confident. Be confident in the person that you are, because we each offer different things in this world. So you know, don't be afraid. You know, that person that you meet may be an investor towards something that you didn't realize could help your business grow. Um, but networking is the key to any successful, business, any moves that you want to make. Because if you believe in your product and yourself, and you convince that person to believe in you, they're gonna be behind you. And that's really what I've gotten out of, building relationships with different individuals, is that I learned right away, when you're meeting these different people, a lot of people are interested in what it is you have to offer the world. So you got to take your shot. The shots that you don't take, how do you know if you're gonna win? So that's kind of how I base my experiences with people in this world in general.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, Dante. So I feel like right now we got a good snapshot of your past. We got a good snapshot of what you're doing now. But as you know, we're all goal oriented, right? And we all have these big aspirations and dreams that we're trying to deliver on, right? And I know you. I know you. I mean, your dreams might give me headaches, and I don't know how. Some of us are able to even deal with these certain temperatures every day, because with the pressure and social media, it's all very exhausting at times. But talk to us about what your goals are, like how where you're trying to go, how could we support, and then and then keep up with you.
So for me, my biggest goal is to, I'm a father of two daughters. My biggest goal is to be a role model for them. Their moms are great. They take care of them very well. And my point is to be an inspiration for them, to set a bar that they're able to chase. I really stopped trying to pinpoint what it is I wanted to be, and just grind it and continue to grind, because everything else, when you work hard, is going to eventually take care of itself. One of my, near future goals is to be a homeowner before the age of 30.
Real estate, right?
Yeah,
I think
real
you mentioned earlier, you want to get to real estate so you could get
Prop-
that multi-family.
Property is everything.
Yeah.
Like, it's so crazy that a simple game of like Monopoly, when we were growing up playing that game.
How powerful is that game, man?
Monopoly is a
Want
very,
the property.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? You lean on this,
Property.
you lean on this, and you paying. Like, that's how life really works right now. It's like, when you own this or these pieces of land, people have to pay you to stay there. Owning property is a form of financial freedom. Doesn't matter if you have a 9 to 5. Doesn't matter if you already own a business. It's a way of providing for your family in multiple ways, so that you're no longer conformed to just sticking in one place. Because at some point you'll be able to retire. But when you retire, what is it that you want to do afterwards? Like, you really have to look into the future and what it is. Try not to live day by day. Actually have goals and set plans. And that's one of my goals, is real estate. I want to be a business, and I want to start a small marketing firm to be able to help other small businesses or people that are trying to get a jump start in what it is that they want to do, to try to move forward and help them take that step forward into becoming successful. Because we're in a generation where you can use your mind. You're creative. We have a ton of creatives in this world, from people who deal with computers to people who just want to own restaurants. Like, it's out there if you want to take it. So
Yeah, and just to piggyback off of that, marketing is huge right now. You can literally work with geo tags, where you just so happen to walk by a particular bank, and then all of a sudden you see an ad pop up in your inbox, or rather on the internet, that is marketing to you for that particular bank. And we see that with any business, from Blue Apron to some of these other little subscription services. When you talk about this potential marketing firm and your future, goal when it comes to that, why would folks work with you? So, this is just thinking about the marketing scheme, because you have search engine optimizer, you have AdWords, you have so many different methods of marketing. But I think really where I'm gearing towards with this question is, it seems like you've had proven success with what you've used so far with these strategies.
So for me, I feel like with me starting, a small marketing company, I want my marketing company to allow my employees to have a creative edge over the choices that they do. So we're not going to make it something where it's like, oh, you work for me. we're gonna open up the format to where it's like you're using your creative mind and you feel like you're an owner or a business owner within this company.
Because ball approach, right?
So it's like if you're able to have that drive and that ability to feel like you have that creative control, you're gonna work harder. And then as long as there's incentives and things of that nature to help push the employees, you'll have success.
Mhm.
So it's like I may have a strategy of how I market, but someone else may have a whole different outlook. I'm not gonna shut down his or hers approach to how we should market something or to teach someone because he may see something that I don't. And that's the greatness of marketing. Like it's such an open format that it's just the brain working and the way to get the ideas out. So it's like I want to have that creative culture in my firm where it's like, hey, he's 21 years old, I'm 35 at the time, and he may see something that I don't because of the relationship he has with the younger market. You know what I mean? So it's like I want to have that type of thing. Anyone from the age of 21 to 45 working with me and they're able to feel like they can be creative without being shut down by the CEO of their own.
That's awesome.
Right. Yeah, for me, it's I think that what you're trying to set yourself up for is different types of income, but also being successful at this too, right? What was the number that you mentioned earlier that you were aiming for the number of income streams? What was that?
The secret sauce.
The secret sauce,
The
man.
secret
So
sauce.
it's said to be that in order to be a millionaire, you gotta have anywhere from 6 to 7 different forms of income coming in. My belief is like, that's correct, but it starts now. It starts before you even become a millionaire. It starts, writing yourself right now. Right now, you should be thinking about, hey, what other ways can I have money coming in? Because when you're stuck to one, you're conformed to that one place, and you don't want to have that. You want to be able to have this coming in from a property, this coming in from your 9 to 5. Me, I have the nightclub, so I have that coming in. Because at the end of the day, we all have responsibilities, we all have bills, but you want to feel like you're just living to stay alive. You want to feel like you're living to actually live. You know what I mean? So that's the biggest thing for me is I want to have at least 6 or 7 different ways of getting money, and we're gonna figure it out.
Right.
And that's the amazingness about life is like it's a big game, it's a puzzle. So you got to figure out what it is, go for it, and if it works, it doesn't. Everything about business and life is taking chances, and if you don't take that chance, you don't know what can happen. So
So I appreciate that, Dante. I know we had the conversation about this, and I know that we've also mentioned a couple different topics, right? And one of the guys that's out there that I think is pushing that social awareness forward is Jay-Z. He has that album, the 444 album, and when he came out with it, I'm like, yes. Like I need, I've been out there again. I don't know everything about finances. Trust me, I'm not the one that knows it all. But I like to learn from others that are doing it, right? And when I get that information, I like to participate and give it back. And I think that's what Jay-Z is doing. So you had your opinion on one of the songs that kind of inspired you in a way. So what was the song? Talk to me how it inspired you and how it should relate to others. Right? It should relate to some of the other young guys out there doing it, young women as well, these hustlers, because he's proven that he can do it on not just a smaller scale, but a really large scale, right? And then we're like, thank you for giving us the information, but I don't know if everybody else is thinking.
Just taking it in the same way. So, as most of you know, Jay-Z dropped 444. And the song that I relate to a lot is the OJ story. And that song whole speaks about, purchasing properties at a time where the real estate market was at a good time to buy in, and it was right in his neighborhood. And while he was selling whatever it was he was selling, making his money, instead of valuing that and investing into the property, he was buying the latest cars, the latest jewelry, the latest clothing just to impress the people around him. And in reality, had he invested into that property at that time, which was probably 20 years ago, it's now worth 5 times the value. You know what I mean? In the area of Brooklyn where he grew up at. And he relates it to, it's Dumbo in Brooklyn, and he relates back to saying, I'm a Dumbo. I feel like a Dumbo for not buying back then. So it's like he's dropping this knowledge of saying to you, like, don't fight over these neighborhoods and these streets that your parents are renting from or we're all renting from, and invest. Take your money, take that $5K, you put it on a table to buy something, or the $10K you're going to buy a car, and that literally can be a down payment for a condo, a house that you may not see at that time is a huge investment. It's an investment for yourself, an investment for, the future. You don't know if you're gonna have kids or whatever the case may be, but just don't live for like the time being. You gotta look towards your future, and sometimes it's hard, but it's something that we all have to try to do.
Yeah, it's longevity, and I think one of the biggest messages that we want people to take away from Lifted is really creating an estate, having a long-lasting, not even just financial background, but literally for your name to live on and leave a legacy.
Right.
Because a legacy these days is much more than a name. It's much more than finances. It's also passing down knowledge to those generations that come after us. So I think Jay-Z does an excellent job at kind of framing that, but also reminding people what's important. It's more than just what we see in the culture of hip hop.
Right.
For sure.
How would you want to portray it? How would you want to be a part of it moving forward, as far as being involved in hip hop and making that connection?
Oh, for me, I feel like right now, for most of you that don't know, hip hop is one of the biggest money makers in the world. It's finally, past that plateau, and that's come from, Jay-Z's, the Diddy's, the Dr. Dre's, the Eminem's, all these people that decided to take their life and portray it in a culture and put it out there for the world to see. And through that, I feel like what's been lost is people are not realizing that that culture is still well alive, but it's like you want to be able to give back. So you got to allow the music, you can use it as a tool, but you also have to take that tool and then invest into other things. And that's why you see the Diddy's and Jay-Z's having their hands onto liquor brands and having their hands onto clothing lines and shoe deals. And they even have, real estate. That's the thing they're not putting out there on Jump Street in front of you. But Diddy has like 4 different names of his businesses. He even has one that I recently found out, that his son showed me what it's called, Combs Enterprises. So it's beyond Bad Boys. He has Combs Enterprises that deals with the restaurants, it deals with the real estate, it deals with, all of his out of the country businesses. So it's like to give back to that, I feel like we gotta you can't allow music to dictate or make you feel like, oh, this is my only way out. Use it as a tool, and then if you're great at it, try to find other options to create other diverse forms of income.
Absolutely, diversifying your portfolio, right? For me, I think Dante is a big reason, a part of the reason why Lifted has been created. Every time I see what he's doing, I really appreciate it. I think that he's doing it from a good place, and he's just really trying to take care of himself and his next generation. And I know his main passion is his daughters, and I can only respect that to the fullest, right? I think we all really care about our kids and children and making sure we leave it better for them than we got it, right? So that's the message I'm getting across. I don't know if you guys want to share one last word, both of you, please.
I think real quick, right before we end and to close, we always want to make sure that we close with a strong message. And each person that we bring onto this podcast, every single person that we meet with has a different story, and they all have different qualities. And one of the things that we talked about in our pre-interview was the quality of loyalty. So before we end, I just wanted to get your thoughts on loyalty and what other 3 qualities are super important for people that are leading towards success and what they should focus on.
So in a generation where loyalty seems to be a lost trade, we got to understand that that's something that can continue relationships, that can help you. If you break bridges of people that have believed in you, or you take their belief in you, or whatever it is, whether they loan you money to go do something, whether it's like, hey, I believe you to go do this. If you,
Credit.
Credit, all the credit. Credit. You know what I mean? So it's like loyalty has to be something more than just a word. You actually have to embrace that whole, everything about it. For me, one of the things that I want to say is just you have to be intelligent, resilient, and just have a confidence about yourself in this world, regardless. Regardless where you come from in the world, regardless of your circumstance. I come from the hood. You know what I mean? I never thought that I'd be able to sit in rooms with people who talk about $1 million investments, but because this confidence and the intelligence of reading and just knowing my information, and just being a confident man in myself, no one gave me anything. I earned everything that I have. So it's like there's nothing you can say to me that will ever break me because of the belief I have in myself. You know, so just try to, you know, have a confidence about yourself and aura about yourself that people gravitate to. It's tough sometimes when, you know, a lot of us have different situations. We may not grow up with a father or mom, maybe single mothers, or you may even come from a great family, but just anything in general, just have, you know, an intelligence about you, a knowledge, awareness. You know, be resilient. We all go through problems, but resilience is key because it builds character. And then the confidence part. Feel confident enough that you can do anything that you want in the world. Like nobody can stop you. Like they really say that. For me, when I tell my daughters they can be anything that they want in this world, and as long as I'm behind them, I really believe that they can be doctors, they can be lawyers, and I'm gonna be there for them, even when they feel like it may not be happening. I'm gonna have their back. So it's just like before that was available to me, I never really had that, but you gotta already know that you have that in yourself before anybody else can tell you that you have. You gotta have a self-worth. So, you know, before we leave, that's my biggest
Word,
thing.
no, I appreciate your time, Dante. On behalf of Lifted, I want to thank you for coming on. It means a lot to myself and Evelyn for you to come over and kind of share your thoughts and your finish off with one more quote. There are two ways of exerting one's strength. One is pulling down, the other is pulling up, and that's by Booker T. Washington. So I just want to finish on that note, and also want to thank Juan Rivas and Helia Rivas. They're the engineers behind this. So a lot,
Brains of the operation.
literally, and they've come through and they took this thing Lifted to another level, literally, right? So because of them, we're able to do this, and I want to thank them formally. And you can also find them on Instagram and everything as well. But no, I want to thank them and thank you guys.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Let's do
Stay
it, bro.
lifted, man.
Stay lifted, man. Stay lifted, man. You ready? Cool.